Jagrata, Jai Masters. The Buddha said that the highest state is compassion. The highest human state is compassion. He, of course, went beyond all that. And that's what mother is supposed to be. We all grew up with mothers, but they weren't always divine mothers. And people write all the time, they get so much from the teachings, they're doing so well. How can they teach that to their children? At what age can a child learn these things, etc., etc., etc.? It all has to do with compassion. It all comes down to compassion. Compassion is not sympathy. Sympathy is as follows. I can relate to what you're going through. I have sympathy because I know about that, and I have sympathy for you. And we can start a blog and talk about what it's like and feel each other's pain. That's how people see sympathy. Compassion is very, very, very different, and very few people understand compassion. Compassion is, I used to be there, but I'm not anymore, because I transcended that. I went beyond that. I saw that that is not who I am. It is something I can feel. It is something my thoughts can do, but I am not my thoughts. I am not my feeling. I am the witness. I am the consciousness that is aware of these things. From that seat, compassion means way more than sympathy. It means not only do I understand what you're going through, but I know you don't have to go through that. That's compassion. There is a state beyond where you're sitting, and I would love to help you. I would love to see you raised to that state. I have compassion for what you're feeling, and I know you don't have to feel it. That's way deeper than sympathy. And very few people are capable of true compassion. Why? Because they're caught in themselves. We're all caught in ourselves. We all have our own problems, have our own fears and anxieties and issues and aches and pains and all that kind of stuff. And so the concept that you don't have to be feeling that that's just a stage you're going through. Humanness is a stage you're going through. Of all the terrible lies you can tell, the worst is I'm only human. That's not true. You're not only human in any way, shape, or form. In fact, you're not a human. You're going through the experience of a human. You're experiencing what it is like to be conscious of a human, but you are not a human. You're spirit, you're God, your consciousness itself. So compassion is very, very, very deep. It falls in line with judge not that ye shall not be judged. In other words, when you realize that you've gone through these things and other people go through these things, you don't judge. You're not looking at somebody and saying, you shouldn't be going through that. You shouldn't have done that. You're looking and seeing, I understand. That's what compassion says. I understand. But it says it very quietly. It doesn't encourage them. It doesn't enable them. It's not enabling. It's so deep it's hard to talk about. It's just basically, I see, I understand, give me your hand. That's compassion. At the end of the Oxfording pictures, they're in the back of my first book, Search for Truth. And I put the Oxfording pictures. It's the path from being lost to being found. And the last one is barefoot, with gourd in hand, he walks back to the town. And without the use of magic or mystical powers, he leads all in the way of the Buddha. It says, with a grin on his face, without any powers, any mystical nothing. In other words, he went beyond, he understands, and his presence helps. His or her presence helps. And that is the highest teaching. People ask all the time, what can I do to spread the teachings? What can I teach my children? Be the teachings. Become the teachings. At whatever level you're at, you will raise everyone around you to whatever degree they're able to vibrate like that. But you will tend to raise them up, just like people can bring you down. You know what it's like to be around people that bring you down. You raise yourself, and you will start to understand what compassion means. Because you don't judge. Why would you judge? You don't judge an alcoholic, you don't judge a drug addict, you don't judge a person this problem, that problem, person in prison. You don't judge. You don't judge. I told you, there's a story. I did 30 years in prison work, maximum security prison. And one particular morning, they didn't call all the cell blocks. It's funny, I could only get in because, they have to let religions in. And I'm not all that religious. And so I said I practiced Buddhism because I was doing Zen meditation. So it was really freaky to walk up to those gates through all the razor wire and 3 gates, and all of a sudden you hear, Buddhists! That's when I was at the cell blocks. Buddhists! But one morning, they didn't call out very loud or whatever to the different cell blocks. And only one person showed up. And I never, ever asked any of the men who came why they were in there. I didn't care. I had nothing to do with it. They were all very, very receptive to teachings, very receptive. And it was a nice class, and they were very regular. And this person had come before, but I didn't know them. They didn't come all the time. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm in there with this one person. So we talked. What am I going to do, give a lecture? And it turns out he was a serial killer. And he had, obviously, serious problems. And now I'm sitting face to face with him, sitting down. And one thing he said to me, I'll never forget. He'd been in for a long time, obviously. And he said, I've been to, imagine I was a psychiatrist and psychologist and therapist and things I've been through and every single thing. I said, why do you come to my class? And he said, well, because you talk about something that lets me know that you understand what I went through and what goes on inside of me. You talked about the Shakti. You talked about this energy that can rise up inside, and that is so beautiful that, it's the meaning of life. I never felt that unless I was doing this. I just never felt it. I never felt it in love. I never felt it in friendship. I never felt it in anything. And I was so totally lost. But somehow, when I did this act, I became filled with energy, filled with enthusiasm and encouragement, and whatever. And then I'd come down and I just ruined myself for what I'd done. Now you understand compassion. If you understand what it's like to be blocked, extrapolate that out to how blocked somebody can be. If you understand what it's like to feel love when you haven't felt much, understand what it's like to have somebody compliment you when you're not feeling well and feel the energy rise, what would you do for that? So this poor soul was locked into a energy system that was the only way that he could feel anything. Is it right? No. Does he belong in prison? Yes. All right. But now do you understand compassion? So when you sit there with that person, I didn't judge him in any way, shape, or form. I understood. I've felt what it's like for energy to open up at times that were not so appropriate. We all have, haven't we? Okay? And so here you just take it to the extreme. That's what you're doing. So you feel compassion. You don't feel sympathy. You don't judge. You just have compassion. And here's a soul that was lost. And he was doing better, obviously. That's as close as I can come to tell you what Christ meant by judge not that you shall not be judged. Let you without sin throw the first stone. You're thinking that little. It goes the whole way. Once you get past your feeling of repulsion because you're with this person who killed somebody, or a drug addict, or somebody who did things that are unacceptable to you, and you have that. When you get past that, you get past yourself, you can live in this world with compassion. You can live in this world. So many terrible things happen, don't they? All the time. Come on, just read the paper. You don't have to read the paper. It's all around. Are you going to get angry? Are you going to feel terrible and closed and out of place and this is terrible? Or are you going to feel compassion? We're having a deep talk. Because the same situation outside, if it hits your stuff, will make you judge. It'll make you not want to be here, make you do all kinds of stuff inside and maybe even outside. Like that person, I was up in Tallahassee a long time ago, that killed a doctor that was performing abortions because he believed in the right to life. That's what it can do to you. because you have problems, it hits your problems, and you judge it tremendously, very strongly. Anger, all kinds of stuff, righteousness, because you have this way that you are, and it's not that way. And then you can either mentally, emotionally, or physically do very unbelievable things. And isn't that what the papers show all the time? These people go in and you can't even talk about it, right? So what are you going to feel? Anger, repulsion, hatred, or compassion? But having a deep talk on Mother's Day, Christ taught compassion. He said, it was said unto you, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you, resist not evil. That's compassion. Why? If you resist what you can't handle, it runs your life. So therefore that guy goes out there and kills somebody. Why? Because they can't handle themselves. They can't handle what's going on inside themselves. They need to somehow try to stop it so it doesn't bother them. Understand that? You all do that. You judge, don't you? And you seem reasonable to judge. Well, of course, that's wrong. They can't do that. Okay, just look what it does to you. You can judge if you want to do all this stuff, but look how it makes you feel. You're not bringing anything good into the world. You're being the same as everybody else, getting angry and upset and everything like that. Why don't you understand that people go through what they need to go through, and this is what happens. Those are the real teachings. And they're beyond what human can do, aren't they? Human judges. Human has their own stuff, and they believe in it, and they hold to it, and anything that doesn't match it, they are repelled by it, they're repulsed by it, and they fight it, and they resist. If I said unto you an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, but I say unto you, resist not evil. What does that mean? It means if you resist it, you become part of it. The more you hate something, the more it runs your life. That's what you're doing. It's like, how deep are you willing to go? In the deepest state, where you have to go if you want to transcend yourself, you understand that if I can't handle it, it will run my life. Those words, I can't handle that. I can't handle what that serial killer did. I can't handle what this person did. I can't handle what that person said. I can't handle what that person's doing. I can't handle I can't handle what you believe. Whoa. How can you believe that? I can't handle you can believe that. How can you vote that way? In other words, you have your way, and you can't handle that somebody else has a way that's not yours. That's what you're saying. Anytime you say, I can't handle that, you're saying, I have my way, and my way is right. And you didn't fit there, and you were wrong. Guess what? That ain't going to get you any worse. The truth of the matter is, you have your way, she has her way, he has his way, and no two ways are the same. None. I've talked to that before. Don't you go out to look for your soulmate. Why? There is nobody out there that is anything like you. Why? Because psychology teaches you that your mind and your emotions are the sum of your learned experiences. That they don't bother saying mind and emotion. They say you are, but we're spiritual. We know who you are. You're the one who notices that your mind and your emotions are the sum of your learned experiences. You're the witness. You do notice that your mind talks about the sum of your learned experiences, don't you? Somebody said to you something yesterday you didn't like. What happens when you walk toward them today? The sum of your learned experiences start coming up. Yesterday, before they said it, you were fine seeing them. Your mind said one thing. Now your mind says something else. Okay? That's what it means, the sum of your learned experience. You don't realize how real this is. We're so caught in ourselves we can't see. Everything your mind is doing, everything your emotions are doing is the sum of your learned experiences. And they don't always line up, and so you get confused. You had experiences with one person that made you feel really close. You had an experience with the same person made you feel terrible. Now when you see them, which is it? I don't know, I'm conflicted. I love it. Of course you are, because your mind is a computer that has picked up the sum of your learned experiences. And you are in there trying to be okay. You're in there trying to be okay with all this stuff, diverse experience that you've had. And so you build a self-concept out of the experiences. You put them together. I'm the one who did this. I'm the one who's good at this. I'm the one who failed at that. I'm the one who got really embarrassed when that happened. You just take little pieces of all your learned experiences. You glue them together. And you say, this is me. That is what psychology means, a self-concept. It is something you glue together based on the experience that you've had. It's not who you are. You're the consciousness that is aware of that. You're the consciousness aware that you had the experience. And I wish you were the consciousness aware that you're gluing them together to make a you, but you're too busy building it to see that you're building it. You get lost down. No, it has to fit. Everything has to fit. Why'd you say that? You know what I mean? Defending yourself and selling yourself all the time. How you dress, how you act, how you feel, how you drive, what your house is, what you say, how many degrees you have, every single thing. I need to decide who I am and get everyone to agree. How do you like it when they don't agree? How do you like rejection? Nobody hit you. Nobody did anything. I don't believe you. You're completely caught in this model that you built inside. As long as you're in there, and you are, what is going to happen is events out there are not going to match what you have inside. Now, if you want, you can raise your hand and say, why? Why won't they match? If what you built is a house inside to live in, that is the sum of your learned experiences, not all your experiences, you drove by trees, you passed houses, the ones that you either really liked or really didn't like, those are the ones you kept. Those are the bricks they built your little thing inside of, okay? All right. Those happened over the course of your life. I don't care how old you are, 20, 30, 80, I don't care. You just collected more. And you built this out of the course of your life. That's what's going on inside your head. That's what the I is. The I, me, mine. That which you kept from your learned experiences and built an ego out of, built a self-concept out of, okay? Now, you are taking that. Picture it. You see it? It's very unique to you, isn't it? I told you a minute ago. There's nobody like you. Nobody had the experience you had. Maybe one experience, maybe two. Nobody had every experience you had, did they? And even if they had a similar experience, they weren't in the same state of mind and emotion when they had the experience. Therefore, they experienced it differently. Nobody has ever had the same experience as you. No one. And no one ever will. No one is having, no one did have, and no one ever will. You're given a unique private showing of your experience here on earth. No one saw what you saw. And certainly not in the same order and everything. So now you're taking that thing that you built in here, and you're stepping into a moment outside. Is that outside moment the sum of your learned experiences? Is that why it's raining? It's the sum of your learned experiences? Is that why she didn't say hello? The sum of your learned? It has nothing to do with you. That moment out there is the sum of its learned experiences. Go study science. When they teach you, everything has cause and effect. That moment out there is a science moment. Every single thing that ever happened before coalesced together to create the moment as it is. The person that stood there before wore too much perfume. So now you're in the moment with too much perfume. They're not there, but the moment's there. Somebody said something. Why? Why did they say that to me? Because 5 minutes ago they found that their father died and they're very upset, or their husband left, or their child went to the hospital. That moment is the sum of all causes that cause it to be the way it is, and you just stepped into it. It has nothing to do with you. It is not supposed to be the way you want it to be. It will never be the way you want it to be. It is what it is. How can it be the way you want it to be when he wants it to be different? Every single person has their own concepts and views about what's supposed to be going on. People come to me, why are there so many wars? Why are there not more? Nobody agrees about anything. You know darn well nobody agrees with every single thing. You wouldn't even let anybody know what you're thinking. Which one of you would let me go to Times Square, that giant screen, hook it up to your brain, and have every thought go flying across that screen for everyone to see? Every thought. Not the ones that came out of your mouth. Those are filtered. Sometimes. Well, you're still there filtering them. They're filtered. Otherwise, you don't want to be around. So basically, you're stepping into a moment which includes everybody's history. If there's 3 people in the moment, they all came there from some of their histories. They're all bringing totally different histories in that moment, aren't they? And the moment is the result of physics and chemistry, and the interaction of all the forces of creation created that moment. And each person's mind created their own past. I don't know. I can't even talk about it. Do you see how big it is? How can it supposed to be the way you want? It's not the nature of things. You want to have a nice life? You want to bring love in this world? Be more understanding. We're touching compassion again. Remember, I used the word understanding. Be more understanding that it is the way it is because it is. That's very Zen. You know what Zen says? Flowers are red, water's blue, grass is green. So you go into Zen master, you travel across the world to go to this place, you walk down and sit down, and boy, I'm going to get some teachings. And he says, grasshopper, flowers are red, water's blue, grass is green. Go home. But I spent 8,000 to get here. No, go home. Because that's all teaching you need. That was, in 3 phrases, everything I just tried to tell you. Things are the way they are, because of all the forces of creation that made them be that way, all the way back to the Big Bang. I do that in the new book, Living Untethered, build it from the bottom up. It all happened, and then the subatomic particles put themselves together. Why? You want to know why? Okay, go down there and study quarks, leptons, and bosons, and how they interact together, and how every light wave is really a particle and a wave at the same time. You're welcome to study it. Okay? Just, they put themselves together based on their natures. They are the way they are because of all the forces of creation that cause them to be that way. You want to call it God? Fine, because of God. Because of physics? Fine. Quantum physics? Fine. Same to me. You know why it's same to me? Because it's not you. You didn't do it. You had nothing to do with it, did you? Did you put those quarks together? Did you figure out that 2 up quarks and a down quark make a proton? And 2 down quarks and up quark make a neutron? No, I don't think so. Right? So they put themselves together. Then atoms get made, and then atoms make molecules, and here you are. Welcome. Took 13.8 billion years. Didn't it? This moment, this exact moment, took 13.8 billion years of every single thing being exactly the way it was, exact, for this moment to exist right now. Now I want you to say, why did he say that? What's the matter with you? And I know what's the matter with you. I built this box, and I'm only comfortable inside this box. And if anything comes toward this box that doesn't match the box, no, it's wrong. So you just said all of creation is wrong. When you say something's wrong, you said all of creation is wrong. It's wrong. That serial killer shouldn't have killed those people. A tough one. I'm being very grown up with you. Well, given every single thing that was and everything that happened in his childhood and her childhood, that's what happened. Can you do things to help it not happen? Yes, of course. Can you make it not have happened? Never. You will never ever change the past. So this is called acceptance, which is part of compassion. Do you see how it all fits together? Understanding, compassion, acceptance, surrender, they're all the same. They're basically saying, get rid of yourself and see what it looks like. Christ said you must die to be reborn. If you can let go of that ego and walk, imagine being able to walk into the moment and honor what it is. To honor that it is 13.8 billion years of every single thing being exactly the way it was to create the moment that now exists. Wow. That's called clarity. That's called transcending the personal self. And that's what compassion is. When you have done that, that's why Buddha says the highest state. Dalai Lama says the same thing. Buddhists teach that very strongly. The compassion is the highest. Why? Because in order to be in that state of compassion, you have to have let go of yourself. You can't walk into this moment and you be there with all your garbage and feel compassion. You can feel sympathy. I went through that too. Yeah, my wife also. I know it just sort of feels like, all right, fine. Just another brick that you built your ego out of, and somebody else, you can relate to somebody else. But compassion, you can't be there. All right? You can't bring your stuff into this moment and realize that the moment is perfect. There's another one that I say that you don't like at all. The moment is perfect. What moment? Every moment. It is the perfect result of all the force that made it be the way it is. I'm going to repeat that to you scientists. Every moment, everywhere, at all times, is and always was and always will be the perfect result of all the forces that cause it to be that way. It is the perfect result of every force that ever happened in creation, mental, emotional, physical, everything. It comes together and it creates the moment. Then what? Then it creates the next moment, the next moment. It's called cause and effect. So it happens. When you can use that word perfect and not have it feel yicky in your mouth, you have learned to transcend yourself. Because the personal self will never see things as perfect unless they match what it wants. Okay, that's perfect. Look what you did. It's perfect. In other words, it's just what I wanted. How often do you say it's perfect when it's not what you want? That's perfectly what I didn't want. my God, that's so beautiful. That's exactly what I didn't want. You said exactly what I didn't want. Just say, come and give you a hug. No, you can't handle that. So now you understand. We're getting there, aren't we? The high states, the real great states, including love and peace, you can't define them. They're way past the words to touch. Compassion is the same way. I'm trying, aren't I? You can walk around them, but you can't touch them. Because you who tries to touch them, they can't exist while you exist. They're transcendent to you. That's what transcendent means. They are beyond the personal. So we've already shown that everybody is different than you. Now you understand that. And that the moment in front of you has nothing to do with you. It has to do with the force that made it. I mean, it's something to do with you, but very little. If it took all the forces of creation and everybody's mind and everybody's behavior prior to that, coming into this moment to create the moment, how much did you have to do with that? How much it got to do with you? Whoa. Yeah, but I said boo, and he got all scared. I was playing. Okay, you said boo, but Mom used to say boo, and has this and a boogeyman, and all the things that made it so that he reacted that way had nothing to do with you, did it? It has nothing to do with you. There's a person prejudiced. They're prejudiced against Jews, prejudiced against blacks, prejudiced against immigrants. Why? It has nothing to do with the immigrant. It has nothing to do with the black person. It has nothing to do with the Jew. It has nothing to do with them. Nothing. They're just a person. It has to do with what's going on inside that person, isn't it? Okay? So you feel compassion. Not hatred. Not judgment. You feel compassion. There's stuff in it. It's Mother's Day. I said to you to start with, we didn't all have great mothers, did we? Right? What would the mother be like that was perfect? She'd teach you this, wouldn't she? Now, the world would be a better place, wouldn't it? There's a story when you talk about prejudice. And it's a true story. You can go look it up. I don't remember all the details, but I saw it on the news. There was a young man, a young black man, 13 years old, I think, and he grew up north, and he didn't experience a lot of prejudice because of his color. And he came down south, and there's a lot of prejudice. And somehow it didn't bother him. He was fascinated by it. He said, I don't understand, you don't even know me. And so at one point, he walked up to a Klansman. And he sat there and said, without judgment, why do you not like me? And talked to the guy instead of being afraid of the guy. And basically they got a little friendly, a little relationship, a little thing going, right? And he started doing that a lot. And the punchline of the story, and it's a true story, because they showed it in the news, if you go into this man's house, he grew up, well, he's older now, he has a shrine of Ku Klux Klan robes. And he walks over to one of them, and it's the Grand Wizard robe, right? And the newsman asked him, why do you collect these robes? He said, these are the robes that they took off and gave to me because we became friends, including the Grand Wizard. Okay? That's compassion, isn't it? Judge not that ye shall not be judged. So it's like he was able to stand there and not judge, but be fascinated. He was fascinated by why somebody wouldn't like somebody else. All right? And by doing that, the door opened for people to be people and to touch. All right? So this is what it means to live a life that transcends yourself, as opposed to living a life that says, I'm not okay, and I need things to happen the way I need for me to be okay. And that's what we always talk about. It always comes down to that. I'm not okay in here. I'm lonely. I'm scared. I'm insecure. I need to prove myself. I'm afraid people will reject me. I'm afraid. I don't always put that up front. It's like you learn to deal with it. But that underlying fear is there. Do you understand that? I think you do. So you can build a wall in front of it, a fake facade, and put it out there. But why do you need to do that? Because underneath there's this insecurity. There's this deep sense of, I'm lying. I've presented myself as something, and I better make sure I can keep doing that. I better make sure that they accept me as this. Why? Because you are lying. Because you are not the ego. You made one up. It's a fake thing. Imagine living on top of a fake thing. You're living on a fake thing. Christ said what? Don't build your house on sand. You built your inner house on sand. You weren't comfortable in there, you lost, so you started building these building blocks, and now you're presenting them your entire life. Your entire life, you have to present yourself, don't you? That's why people have anxiety. It's very natural. But deep inside, I don't look in the eyes, because you don't want to, deep inside you're scared, real scared. Some people described to me once like, no, it's dark in there. There's like a hole, an abyss, and I ain't falling in. It's empty down there. You better pedal and tread your water and just build this thing you built, this ego. That's what the ego is. That's what the ego is. It's not who you are, but it uses the word I, doesn't it? Because you're hiding inside of that, and you do not want to know what's on the other side. Let me ask you a question. Just shake your head. Don't do anything. Has it ever fallen apart in there? Has anything ever happened in your life that was so unacceptable and so strong that you were completely lost and there was no place to stand and you felt like, I love you, so I don't want to say I'm glad, but I'm glad. Because that means you understand. That's not okay. That's not how to live your life. If I'm representing the Divine Mother, there's no way that that's how you want your children to grow up, is it? There's no way you want that kid to have to suffer and struggle their entire life and be afraid. Yes, of course, you want them to be strong. That's what society teaches them. Teach them to be strong. Teach them to handle things. In other words, because they can't and they're not, fake it. There's a deeper state than that. There's a much, much deeper state than that. What does that mean? You don't need that facade. You think you do. You think you do. The reason it is dark in there is because you blocked it. There's nothing but light in there. Now will be Divine Mother. There is nothing but light in there. Where you see darkness, it's blinding light. It's God itself pouring up inside of you. I was in the Spirit of the Lord's day, the rush of holy waters. That's what's down there. Why don't I feel that? Because you blocked it. The sun is always shining. Well, why don't I see it? Because you put clouds between you and the sun. That didn't stop the sun from shining. And I always teach this. I teach it in the Untethered Soul. It has a chapter, Take Down the Walls, that talks like this. The sun is always there. If you block it by closing the curtains, now it's dark. You have two choices. Put a whole lot of lights inside, get a whole lighting gallery thing and all kinds of stuff to make it light in there and all kinds of things. Or realize, I did that. I closed those blinds. The natural state is pure bathing light all over the earth. The sun is always shining. There is no day, there is no night, there's no winter, there's no summer. It just sits out there and glows for 4.5 billion years so far. And you close the curtain because you were scared, and now you have to have all this artificial light inside. So your choice is take down the walls or be busy. Be busy keeping all those lights burning. Better have some spares and electricity and pay the bills. And you're busy versus totally natural light outside. All right? That darkness in there is because you put clouds in between. You put blockages, dams, in between the light and where you sit. Why would I do that? Go ask Adam and Eve. That is the fall from the garden. That's exactly what's trying to be talked about there. It was pure light. You were just totally filled with Shakti, totally in God, totally poured together. My Father and I are one. It's all you're feeling is ecstasy and joy and experiencing creation. It's unbelievable. Somehow, you put a block in between that light and your consciousness. And they call it the apple. No, it's the ego. You sat there and said, at some point, I am separate. I'm not the consciousness. I'm not the consciousness. I'm what the consciousness is looking at there. I am not consciousness itself, which is what you are. I am the I am, right? I am not conscious itself. I am what I'm looking at. It's so deep. It's contemplated for the rest of your life. Awareness becomes identified with what it's aware of. Right there. That's the tree of self-knowledge. You start to identify yourself as something other than yourself. And that's why it's so neat to go back to Genesis. Once again, it's all symbolism, right? But it's the truth. What do you mean? After that happened, God came to the garden. That's meaning he looked down into his creation. And says, Adam, where are you? Well, we're supposed to be one. I don't understand. Hello? Adam, where are you? What did he say? I'm hiding. Oh my God, how do you hide from God? You start identifying with what you're looking at. And so now you identify with what you've looked at. You identify with your body. You identify with your car. You identify with your house. You identify with the objects instead of with the subject. That is the fall from the garden. And now you're hiding. You're hiding from God. How? By not looking at Him. You don't have to go anywhere. If I stare at that picture so much that I don't see anybody else, you guys don't have to go away. I won't see you because my consciousness is completely focused on something, and I become that kind of focus. So you became object focused instead of subject focused. And enlightenment is when you're subject focused. Lost and human is when you're object focused. So God's walking around, where are you? I can't see God because I'm staring at me. Oh, just give me the shivers. I can't see God because I'm staring at me. So you run around saying, I want to see God. I'm going to go to the Himalayas. What are you going to do in the Himalayas? Stare at me. What are you going to do everywhere? I'm staring at me. I don't care where you go. I don't care who you meet. The consciousness is God. You are the greatest thing that walked the face of the earth. Staring away from God, away from yourself, at an object that is nothing. But you're saying it's me. That's how you hide from God. I don't have to hide. I just don't look. That makes sense? And what was the next thing that got said in the garden? And God's walking around. Adam, where are you? Here I am. What's around your waist? Fig leaf. Well, I put fig leaves on fig trees. What's it doing around your waist? I was naked. OMG. That is so powerful. Every animal's naked. You don't see them putting fig leaves on them. There's no naked. There's just what is. Everything is what it is. So a body is what it is. A tree is what it is. There's no naked. I identified with the body enough to be embarrassed because it was naked. That was the birth of ego. Isn't that beautiful? Because it's all yoga. It's all the deep teachings, all right? So now you're lost. Now you fell down into identifying with the body. I told you this the other day, you didn't go anywhere. You don't have to go back to God. You never left. If I sit in this chair and look at that picture, I didn't leave. My consciousness just focused on the picture. I'm still sitting in a chair, aren't I? The sun is still sitting there in space, but its rays shine down. It didn't go anywhere. You didn't go anywhere. Right now, you're where Christ is. You're it. But you're looking down. Consciousness can look at something, can't it? So you didn't leave. Let's get that straight. That's how close you are. It's kind of nice to know, isn't it? That's how close you are. You never left. But you're staring down at this body. And so you stare down there, you identify with it, and now what happens? Not only am I naked, but I'm lost. I'm lost. So now I'm the body, so now I need to present it, and I need to be taken care of. So now you're busy. That's what he said. When you fell from the garden, now you must work by the sweat of your brow to be okay. Go check it out. Those are the exact words. Anybody know about working by the sweat of your brow? Every single moment. You're busy. Sometimes I'm okay, sure, if you get what you want. If everything matches what you made up of yourself that keeps you out of that hole, remember? What's the darkness? You're looking away from the light. Of course, if you look away from the light, it's dark. You're looking down at inanimate objects. They're made of atoms. There's nothing there. You're the light. You're the light of consciousness. You who's looking is the highest thing that could ever be. But you're looking down at matter. You're looking down, oh my God, at cars and things. It's hilarious. Bodies. Okay? So that's why it seems dark. If you look away from light, it's going to be dark. That's why you have a block. And now what are you doing? You build those blockages every day of your life. You sit there and say, I'll be okay as long as he loves me. Oh my God, who's he with somebody else? And you just one after the other. You build all these things that you need to get away from or go toward to be okay. And now you have all these likes and dislikes. That's why the great teachers, the great ones teach you. The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. Third Zen Patriarch, one of the deepest teachings ever written. The great way, enlightenment, is not difficult for those who have no preferences. Well, I guess it's true. If I accepted everything the way it was, I wouldn't have a problem, would I? If I accepted every single person, every single thing, and every thought, and every emotion, and every single thing the way it was, I'm liberated. I got no work to do I? It just all fits in me. That's why the great way is not difficult. Those are no preferences. But then people raise their hand and say, well, how do you have no preferences? And my answer is very clear. I've run a lot on this. You don't. You don't. Don't worry about your preferences. Worry about the cause of your preferences. Work at the root. There's a cause of your preferences. You didn't just make them up. You had experiences before that made you feel good. You have a preference. Experiences before made you feel bad. You have a preference. You built all these preferences. This is what has to happen for me to be okay. This better not happen. I won't be okay. It's all part of the ego, part of what you built in there. You're not going to get rid of those preferences. I don't want you struggling. I don't want you doing that. I don't believe in renunciation, any of that kind of stuff. There's a reason things are the way they are. Okay? Work with the reason. Work with the reason, not with the little leaves. Work with the root. Well, what is the root of my preferences? The fact that you're not okay. The fact that you're not filled with light and love and bliss and ecstasy and nirvana at all times means you have to try to find that and stay away from what bothers you. So now you have preferences based on the fact that you're not okay. If you were okay, you wouldn't have any preferences. Do you understand that? I want you to be in the presence of someone you love more than anything in the whole world. They've been gone for a year, and they surprise you, and they showed up at the doorstep, and they love you, and you love them, and all this energy is pouring, and have somebody say, oh, you want some pizza? How about a Coke? Are you kidding me? Get away from me. I'm experiencing everything I would ever want to experience. I don't want a pizza. I don't want drugs. I don't want this. I don't want to win the lottery. I don't want anything. Because I'm whole and complete at this moment. I don't need anything. I don't want anything. Therefore, I have no preferences. That's how you have no preferences, to get rid of the darkness. You get rid of those blockages that are keeping you from the light, the preferences will fall off. They just naturally fall right. You wouldn't even know what happened. I used to need this. I can't relate to it. I used to be afraid if I walked into a room at a party where I was wearing the right thing, or if I dropped some ketchup on my pants. I can't relate at all. Oh my God. I'd like to be like that. All you have to do, you don't have to renounce. It's not renouncing. It's not fighting. It's looking to see, why is it dark in here? And you're going to find out. I'll give you the punchline. If everything that ever bothered you, you store inside of you, every time you had a bad experience, you store it inside, you suppress it, you store it, you resist it, what's it going to be like in there? If everything that ever bothered you, you keep and store inside, you will be bothered inside. And that is exactly what's happening. Nothing else is not more complicated. You did store everything that ever bothered you, didn't you? It comes back up and reminds you, things happen. You have things from your past. Anybody have stuff from their past that they were uncomfortable with? Has anybody noticed it's still in there? Anybody notice that somebody touched here, or this happened, or that, where you have a thought, or it's still there, isn't it? That's because you kept it there. Nothing stays there. I told you once. There's no super glue in there. The only one in there is you, consciousness. And then events come in and they pass through, but not some events. They come in and you won't let them pass through. You're not comfortable with them. You want to keep them, you want to push them away, and they stay. That is what causes the darkness. Been doing this for long enough, all right? There's not a question in the world. When you keep that stuff in there, that is the cloud that is blocking the consciousness from experiencing the Shakti. Therefore, the answer is get it out, let it go, don't put any more in. There, now I'm your mother. That is the most compassionate teaching that could ever be given. Don't try to compensate for it. Don't try to go back and make amends for your past or something like that. Don't store it in there. Don't store it in there. If you've had a problem in the past and you get someone to say they're sorry from 10 years ago, you think that has meaning? It does, in the sense that you feel better about what you have stored inside. It's still there. The fact that you needed someone to say they're sorry means it's still there. The fact that you say, well, I don't really believe how you said it. Say it more sincere. Okay, in other words, I'm trying to compensate for the fact that I have this in here and make it be a little more comfortable for me to live with that inside. No, it's still blocking you. If 3 days later it calls you up and says, just kidding, it was April Fool's, how you feel now? It's still there. And make it go away. You have to, and here's compassion, you have to reach the state of understanding that you realize, I did this. I stored this stuff in here because I couldn't handle reality. I couldn't handle things, so I stored them. And now I'm more every time you store one more thing, it's one more thing to be sensitive about. You're friends with this person, then she goes out with your best friend, and now you're not friends with her. Now you got to worry about seeing her, where she lives. You move, right? The answer is, don't store this stuff in there. There's my compassion. Don't store this stuff in there. There's no benefit to storing what bothers you inside, is there? You store it in there because you weren't able to handle it. Well, now you're grown in some. That's why you meditate. That's why you do mantra. That's why you do sadhana and practices. You've grown inside. You can handle things better. Let go of those. And then I'll just do it in 2 seconds what I always teach you, the ultimate compassion. Don't even worry about the stuff that's in there from before. Don't even worry about it. It's going to come up. You have to deal with it. Anyways, learn how to handle life. How? Start with the small stuff. Start with the weather. Start with the driver in front of you. Start with somebody said something. You weren't sure what here, ready? What do they mean by that? I don't know. Should I be upset? Yeah, I think I should. What's the matter with you? If that goes on inside, why'd they say that? I don't know. Should I be upset? No. If you get to choose, why are you choosing to make it a problem? Work on yourself. Work on letting go of the moment that's unfolding in front of you. I already told you, it has nothing to do with you. It's reality. Honor it, respect it, give it a kiss as it passes by, and do your best to relax in its presence so that it goes through. If you do that, you will learn how to do that. And if you learn how to do that, it's like learn how to play tennis, learn how to play the piano, learn anything else you learn. You now are better at it. I'm better at letting go because I let go of how the driver in front of me was driving. I'm better at letting go because I let go of the fact that it was raining when I wanted to go outside. These things matter. You're learning to let go. And the next thing I know, something bigger happened. I practiced the same exact thing, and it went through. And then this went through. And then all of a sudden, people write me. I was doing great. Then all of a sudden, something happened. I don't know what I did wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. Because you're not resisting as much, the bigger stuff can start coming up by itself. Why? Because you're not holding it down. And now what can happen? You can use the exact same technique. No, but it happened 10 years ago, and I was never able to handle it. Good. I handle it now. How? Relax. No, yes, relax. Breathe. It's not even happening. It's not even happening, and you're letting it bother you. All right? Now, we've just touched. Those are compassionate teachings. It's very different than sympathy. Oh, of course you hurt. I can't believe they did that to you. Nobody could handle that. That is not compassion, and that is not friendship. That's, yeah, I can relate. That's what that is. Compassion sits there and says, why do you want that in there? Do you really want that in there for the rest of your life? It happened 20 years ago. It happened when you were 5. Do you still want it in there? No. Then practice letting go. Practice with the simple things. They matter. They matter. When you complain about the driver in front of you, it matters. You complain about the weather, it matters. Practice handling reality. Practice letting go. And then what's going to happen, you'll get good at it. Then the next thing will happen. And eventually some big stuff will come up. Good. That's wonderful. Like people talking about past life. Are there past life things in there? I don't want to talk about it. I don't care. Just do the same exact thing. It doesn't matter where it came from. It doesn't matter. Do you have to understand? No, of course not. You have to let it go. When it's all said and done, if it's not in there, it doesn't matter where it came from, does it? All right? Relax, release. Relax, release. Relax, release. Then more clarity will be there. And eventually you will start feeling this power well up inside of you. Shakti, spirit, call it what you want, chi. It just starts waving up inside you for no reason. You start feeling joy, happiness, love, God. It's pouring inside of you. Why? Because it was always there and you were blocking it. Don't go try to find it. I'll close out. I've been doing it lately with Rumi. He had a beautiful little poem. It is not for you to seek love. It is for you to seek, find, and remove the obstacles you've put in her place. In other words, love is your natural state. You don't need anybody. You're welcome to share it with somebody, but the source of your love is inside of you all the time, overwhelmingly. You're blocking it. So your job is to remove the blockages there. Now you understand compassion. You start feeling that love and joy and ecstasy inside, as the great masters did, like Christ, they look out into the world with compassion. You understand it doesn't have to be the way you guys are suffering and struggling and anxiety and all that stuff. It doesn't have to be like that at all. It's beautiful in there. You're the most beautiful thing ever on the face of the earth. But you don't know what I did. I don't care what you did. It can't change who you are. I don't care how big the cloud is that's going across the sky. It cannot change the sun. Nothing can change who you are. Nothing. All right? So you just practice letting go. So that's your Mother's Day talk. Jai Gurudev.